Now, let me welcome back to HealthCall Live, Gregg Russell, pharmacist and nutritionist, the owner of Fort Wayne Custom RX. Good to see you again.
Likewise.
Are you guys feeling any impact, any supply impact, anything at all from this outbreak?
Well, not yet. There is concerns. The FDA did say that somebody had reported that there was going to be a manufacturer shortage, supply of one generic medication. I don't believe they released the name of that yet, but generally we're not seeing that yet. However, we do expect that there will be some.
And what about other ancillary issues that it might be raising for you? Any shortages at all?
Yeah, probably our biggest thing from my point of view in my pharmacy is the PPEs, or the personal protective equipment, such as face mask, the gowns that we use, and our compounding procedure. We have to keep our employees safe. We have special rooms and hoods that do that, but part of that is they have to gown up in certain apparel, and we start talking about using certain types of face mask, and especially the N95, which is the respirator face mask, is very much in short supply right now.
Yeah, they sure are. Boy, the prices on those have gone crazy.
Oh yeah, I'm in stock in 3M right now.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. You know, you mentioned your compounding pharmacy, and we haven't talked a lot about that on this program with you, but that's a pretty unique specialty that you have. I've been to your lab. I've seen how specialized that work is. So you're actually creating medications for people.
Yeah, we are. Again, we do a lot of specialty work that usually physicians will send patients over. So, for example, we were talking earlier a little bit about thyroid. There's a lot of different variations in doses, and there are certainly different products that are out there that are commercially available, but not at every dosage form or every ratio of mixture. And so we kind of fit that unique space for patients that might need a specific product.
And we are going to be talking about boosting the immune system, which taps into your other area of expertise, and that is you're a clinical nutritionist. And so we're going to talk about herbs and other products that you can use to help give your immune system a boost. Before we get to that, one of the concerns about China and our drug supply is just how many medications are made in China. Tell me a little bit about your concerns in that regard.
Sure. There's a great book, and actually I listened to the podcast, which was presented to the American Society of Consultant Pharmacists. So this is pretty mainstream stuff as far as pharmacists are concerned. A book called The China RX, written by a researcher, Rosemary Gibson, who researches health issues. And what's kind of shocking to find out, let me just back up for a second. When I was in pharmacy school, I remember going on a tour to like Eli Lilly, because I went to school in Indianapolis. So, they showed great. They showed examples of how they made their insulin, for example, there, and they had all the raw materials, did all the testing, and et cetera, right there. What we're finding out now is because of economics, a lot of our raw supply and a lot of our generic drugs, for example, are coming out of China and India, about 80% of them.
80%?
It's a shocking number.
So with the shutdown of all the manufacturing and everything that happened in China, are there any meds that are going to be in short supply?
Well, we've seen a few goofy things over the years. One that comes back to that I know most consumers know about is the generic Zantac and ranitidine. That product was contaminated, and which again is an example of how little generic manufacturing goes on in this country. All these different generic manufacturers were buying it from one place in China, and that product was contaminated. So now all of a sudden you have 30 different generic suppliers that can't supply that drug. It basically was pulled from the market. We had recalls on that, and whether it was prescription grade or whether it was the over-the-counter.
So, but as of this point, with the shutdown and the virus impact in China, you're not seeing any shortages of medications?
We're not seeing any huge increases at this stage, but I suspect we might in the next month or so.
Yeah, interesting to watch. So let's talk a little bit about our immune systems. And, I think a lot of people aren't aware that herbs and supplements really do have an impact on our bodies.
Well, they certainly do. And, we've talked a lot. I know we've had past shows where we talked about the gut, how important keeping our gut, our digestion. And why that's so important is because the immune system basically has an on and off switch that toggles on and off back and forth. We want a good vigilant immune system. We want one that can defend us against a virus or an infection. On the flip side of that, if we have too much of an immune system, we get that autoimmunity.
Right.
We see that people end up with autoimmune diseases, such as we've talked about, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, Crohn's disease, rheumatoid arthritis, and the list goes on and on and on.
Lupus, and you're right.
Yep. So keeping our digestive tracts healthy is one step. We've talked about major things to do that. We've talked about probiotics, for example. We've talked about some different mixtures of different things to help patients restore that integrity of glutamine and things like that are fuels for the digestive tract. And furthermore, we now know that there are certain herbs that we can use to kind of help prevent, as well as help kind of get our body prepared if we know we're gonna have an assault by that virus.
So, with that in mind, not just coronavirus, but the flu and everything else, are there some things that you count on that you know are going to work?
Well, these are the things that I do all the time. Of course, everybody's heard about vitamin C. We do that, and so that's a no-brainer. Everybody takes vitamin C during the cough and cold season. And vitamin C, we know about zinc. We've taken zinc. Zinc has antibacterial activity, antiviral activity. So the sublingual zinc is big. But probably what a lot of people don't know is there's a yeast that actually comes from a mushroom called beta-glucan. And beta-glucan is very important. It has multiple impacts at different places in our immune system.
Tell me more about that. So this is a tablet I take or a capsule?
Yeah, it's again, you can get it in a capsule, tablet form, etc., powder form probably. We have a couple different products that have beta-glucan in it. We have our own brand, for example, that has beta-glucan in it. And again, the whole idea is, especially as you're moving into the season where you're going to have more viral exposure, which of course is the flu season.
Right.
And by the way, remember, what's one of the best ways you can prevent the flu?
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands, yeah. And most people don't wash their hands properly. We know that you need to wash your hands with soap for 20 seconds. And most people will do 5 seconds or so.
Sure.
But again, and you know what's interesting is you don't need hot water.
Yeah, the soap is the active ingredient.
The soap is the active ingredient, and you don't need a bactericidal soap. You just need a good soap.
Yeah. And the flushing action of the water is really important as well.
Well, sure it is, yeah.
So back to beta-glucan. So what is it doing in my body? How does that help my immune system?
Well, it ramps up, in your immune system, you have certain receptors that get turned on and turned off when there are viruses attached to them, and they have destructive pathways. Okay, so what beta-glucan does is it gets your immune system ready to fight those viruses in the long and the short of it. And we can get into real specific stuff, but I don't think most people are too interested in the biochemistry of it.
Right. Yeah. So I take this every day. Do I take it when I'm sick? How do I use it?
Yeah. So usually what I do with the beta-glucan is I dose it. So for example, I'm taking it daily right now. Okay, it's just a one-a-day type item. And again, the whole idea is it's getting my immune system ready to react if it gets exposed.
Okay.
So we don't want a lag period. We want our immune system to get on top of it so we can kind of turn it off. Okay? So that's one thing that I like to do. And then the next thing is we look for different herbs that can also support. So if you do get an infection, you can really mobilize that immune system.
Okay, one of the things that we need to talk about, I've always been very hesitant about using herbal supplements. It just seems to me like you're throwing money away. But that might be because of the junk that I've bought instead of good quality, right?
Well, I think that's imperative. You have to, if you're going to buy something, you want to make sure it's good quality. So we shop professional pharmacy companies, basically. So these are the same companies that sell products to physicians' offices, because the physicians are not going to buy something and resell to somebody or give to somebody that's not going to work, because they want to get their patients better, right? So these companies do research. They also do something that's a little different than most nutritional companies, in that they actually test these products before they get into their supply chain. So one of the things that really disturbs me, as we were talking about the China RX, and things were coming out of China and not even getting tested by quality pharmaceutical companies, and that just seems to me that's egregious. But I know from 2 companies that I actually went and physically inspected their plants. They were just the same quality as if I went to Eli Lilly and looked at them. They had science officers that were doing lots of testing. They had triple layers to make sure something bad. And one company told me they send back 1/4 of all the raw materials they get in because they don't meet their standards or they're contaminated.
Wow. And so that stuff doesn't just get thrown away. It goes to some other manufacturer who...
Or some other chain or a big box store that might sell it for 2 for 1. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'm always suspicious when I see those discounts, right?
And don't buy it off the internet.
Yeah, because you
don't know what you're getting.
You never know. All right, so astragalus, am I saying that right? What is this product?
Astragalus.
Astragalus. It's a root extract. Tell me what it's good for and how do I use it?
We use this a lot of times for common colds, and we use it for hay fever. It's usually dosed about 160 milligrams twice a day for up to 3 to 6 weeks. So it actually works by increasing the body's interferon cells, which is your own immune system, and that's the antibodies that actually call everybody over to the party to destroy the foreign invaders.
Yeah, another one that I have heard people mention is European elderberry extract.
Yeah, elderberry is very popular right now. We use that for a lot of respiratory infections. I like to use this one also for prevention for people when they get ready to travel. And so one of my favorite products that has a lot of these mixtures is a product called Viricid, for example. So we'll use the beta-glucan, which is a product called Homune, and then we use the Viricid. So let's say you're getting ready to travel. Okay, you're going to get on that plane. So we're going to have you take 2 capsules at night the day before travel. We're going to have you take 2 capsules a day of and 2 capsules when you get to your destination. And the goal is, again, it's got an elderberry extract in there. It's going to help fight some of those potential pathogens you're going to come across as you travel.
Echinacea, or purple coneflower, was used by Native Americans forever, and they were onto something, huh?
They were. And they tend to pulse dose this. It seems like it works better if you pulse dose it. And what I mean on that is use it a couple weeks, then take a couple weeks off. Now, usually these mixtures of things that I use, I don't use them every day because I want my immune system to respond to them. And there is some evidence that shows that if you use some of these herbs every single day, it'll actually, over a period of time, suppress your immune system.
Vitamin D, however, is something that you probably ought to be taking every day,
Well,
right?
vitamin D is something, yes. Again, you want to keep those levels of your vitamin D somewhere between 50 and 80, typically is what we're looking at. You can get your vitamin D levels tested. You can talk to your doctor about a recommended dose. They should be retested, and especially this time of the year, again with the flu season, you want your vitamin D levels to be adequate so they can help assist and keep your immune system healthy.
Now, I dropped by the pharmacy to pick up my prescription yesterday, and you showed me you were not compounding, but packaging vitamin D in a special way. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, basically, we have doctors that will send patients over and tell them to take 50,000 units of D3 for 3 days in a row, and we have an over-the-counter product that's unfortunately in short supply. And why, I don't know. But what we basically did was we basically arranged it with some of our physicians to do 10,000 unit capsules and have patients take 5 capsules, which equals 50,000 units once a day for 3 days. And we have found that if you start feeling those symptoms the first day, or you start getting those pre-symptoms, the runny nose, little headache, etc., if you can do that 3 out of 4 times, we can turn that cold.
Wow.
Or the flu.
With 50,000 units of vitamin D for 3 days.
Now, there's caveats to that. Okay, so vitamin D has a major effect on calcium. So, some patients, poor kidney function or parathyroid hormone issues, they need to be careful with that. So.
And what about these other herbs that are available, but are there medications I shouldn't be mixing them with?
Yeah, we do screen for herbs with medications. Fortunately, these herbs tend to be pretty good. Every now and then we'll have somebody who has an allergy to like a ragweed or a pollen or something that can't take a specific herb, but in general, pretty good.
So if I'm interested, how do I don't just go and start picking stuff off the shelf. How do you help me pick the right items for my condition or what I'm worried about?
Well, I think the first thing is we always recommend people, when they walk in the door at our pharmacy, have a list of their prescription drugs. We have database programs. Unfortunately, I don't know every drug interaction, but I can look them up and I can try to evaluate that. Secondly, again, our goal is to get you better, whether it's the first time you walk in our pharmacy or the 30th time you come in. We're going to work to try to help you achieve optimal health. And to me, prevention is worth a pound of cure. We can talk about the cost of health care. If you end up with this coronavirus and you end up in an ICU, it's not going to be a cheap overnight stay at Hotel 66, right? It's going to be expensive. So, the best thing you can do is try to keep yourself out of the hospital.
And you have put together a special offer for our listeners here on WOWO and on HealthCall. Tell me about that. It's an immune pack, I think?
Yeah, we have we offer the two products together, the Whole Immune and the Versed. We have our own custom blend of it, our own brand. It's made by the same manufacturers that make those products, and we're offering those at 25% off, the two together. And again, the beta-glucan, you take it daily, but then you keep the other product ready to go in case you start feeling those symptoms come on.
So do I take these year-round? Or the beta-glucan, is that a year-round
I guess you could take beta-glucan year-round, but I typically, personally, only take it during the flu season, et cetera. Yeah.
So Gregg just shared with us that he's going on a cruise in a little while. What are you going to do to ramp up your immune system? Because it's not just coronavirus, man. Those cruise boats. See, I'm kind of paranoid about that because the norovirus is often what breaks out on cruise lines, right?
Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wash my hands.
Yeah.
And the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disinfect things that I tend to touch. Especially we're going to go in and clean that cabin down before we get in there. Because I don't know how well those get cleaned, but. I'm certainly going to watch what the CDC has to say. We're not going on a cruise for a couple months, so we're hoping that there's going to be a downturn in the coronavirus.
I think we all are. Absolutely. Okay, so the immune pack available at 25% off at Fort Wayne Custom RX. You're on DuPont Road, right behind the Casa restaurant up there. I always forget that. Behind the Casa restaurant.
Yep.
And you can find them online at fwcustomrx.com. Gregg, thanks. Good to see you.